What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh Frink, your favorite professional Pokemon TCG player, welcoming you back today to go over one of the most exciting results from the Dortmund Regional Championships. It just took place this past weekend. We have the brand new set, Stellar Crown. It was the first Western Regional with Stellar Crown legal, and we saw some crazy results this weekend. The first one that I want to go over, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of videos on the different Dortmund results and the Joinville results, which also took place in the West, Brazil. But today, what we're going to be going over is Jelle van Kampen's Gholdengo list. For those of you who are not familiar with Jelle, Jelle has been rocking the Gholdengo for over a year now. Last year in Dortmund was able to pilot the deck to a second place and has at this point won over $14,000 piloting only Gholdengo. And I'll let you in on a little secret. The person who's made the second most money with Gholdengo has not made anywhere near that amount. This is a deck that has been disrespected consistently, but Jelle continues to show up to these tournaments and perform with the deck. So I'm very, very excited to talk about it today. I think it's got a very interesting matchup spread, and it's very solidly positioned in this current metagame. So we're going to start off by breaking down the list, and then we're going to play some games with the deck to see how it pilots. So the first thing that I want to point out here is there's actually not a single Stellar Crown card included in the list. Jelle is playing all cards that were in the format before Stellar Crown even came out, which is incredibly interesting. It's not often that you see a deck rise to prominence in a new meta because of new cards that were added without actually using them to make itself more powerful. My previous video was on Terapagos Pidgeot, and one of Gholdengo's best matchups is that Terapagos Pidgeot deck, which had an insane conversion rate over in Dortmund, had an insane conversion rate over in Joinville as well. So let's break down the list a little bit here. We do see 3 of the 70 HP Gimmighouls, 1 of the 50 HP with the Call for Family. Call for Family is an incredibly powerful attack, allowing you to get some more Pokemon, obviously going to be very good. However, 50 HP is a pretty terrible number at the moment. It can be knocked out by Dragapult EX's Phantom Dive against the Regidrago matchup or against the Dragapult matchup. But also, it's knocked out by Dusknoir, Dusclops, the stage 1. So not even requiring a rare candy to be able to knock that out. So limiting the amount of 50 HP Gimmigouls that we have, so that we're not as susceptible to some of these kind of bench snipe options that exist in the format. For Gholdengo, makes a lot of sense, right? We have the 1/1 Palkia Vstar here as well. Palkia Vstar has been in the game for so long. It was the BDIF for a very long time, now relegated a little bit to a 1/1 inclusion in Gholdengo. Palkia is a solid 2-prize attacker. It does 60 damage plus 20 for each of your and your opponent's bench Pokemon. This is pretty good right now, especially considering that Area 0 Underdepths is one of the new and strong cards in the format, which does not only increase your opponent's bench size if they have a Terra Pokemon, but it will also increase Palkia's damage the more Pokemon they choose to bench. We do have the 1/1 Bibarel, again, a solid draw option in the deck. Obviously, you are drawing a ton of cards with Gholdengo EX's Coin bonus ability, which says that once per turn, you can draw a card. If Gholdengo is in the active spot, you can draw an additional card, right? So we have a ton of card draw in this deck, but Barrel is going to reset us off of things like Ionos, things like Roxanne's, get us to a solid hand size of 5, and then we can start to add additional cards using Gholdengo and using Fezandipiti. We also have the Radiant Greninja. Radiant Greninja, obviously another card that allows us to draw. Concealed cards, discard an energy. You can draw 2. But not only do we have concealed cards, we can also make use of Palkia's Vstar power in order to accelerate to the Radiant Greninja, allowing us to use Moonlight Shuriken to hit 90 on 2 of our opponent's Pokemon. This is going to be one of the primary ways that we deal with things like Charizard, things like Gardevoir. If we could take some of their low stage Pokemon out of play before they're able to evolve, we can kind of oppress our opponents out of the game in tandem with something like Prime Catcher and Canceling Cologne to get around potential mana fees as well. Fezandipiti EX, by this point, I'm sure all of us know what Fezandipiti EX does. Flip the script, an incredibly powerful ability, allowing you to draw 3 cards after your opponent took a knockout on their previous turn. So the goal of the deck is to use Gholdengo's Make It Rain attack, which says 1 Metal Energy. This attack does 50 damage. You may discard as many energy cards from your hand as you like. This attack does 50 damage times the number of energy you discarded in this way. So if you discard 0, you will do 0. If you discard 1, you will do 50, so on and so forth. So our goal is to one-shot whatever 2 prize Pokemon we have in our way. We can do that pretty easily with the likes of things like Superior Energy Retrieval, Earthen Vessel, even Night Stretcher to some extent is going to allow us to get a ton of energy into our hand in tandem with all of this onboard card draw that we have. Moving on to the supporters, we have 3 Ciphermaniacs Codebreaking. This card, if you're familiar with the card Mallow, it's a spiritual reprint. It allows you to search your deck for 2 cards. You will then shuffle your deck and place those 2 cards on top of the deck in any order. Obviously very strong in tandem with something like Gholdengo, which just lets you immediately draw those 2 cards, right? You can do that with Bib, you can do that with Radiant Greninja, you can do it with Fezandipiti, and you'll be able to draw right into the 2 cards that you selected for yourself. 2 Boss's Orders. In a deck like Gholdengo, where very often we're trying to win the game by using a 2-2-2 prize map, what that means is we're knocking out 3 2-prizers in a lot of matchups, right? We're taking 2 prizes on each turn in order to win the game. Boss's Orders can be very powerful for that, as a lot of decks have an option to attack you with 1-prizers, try to force you through things that you can't deal with. So Boss's Orders is going to allow us to get around some of these targets. We have 2 Irida. Irida allows us to search our deck for 1 water Pokemon and 1 trainer card. Obviously, the water Pokemon we would be searching out are Palkia V, Palkia Vstar, and the Radiant Greninja, and then any item that we want as well. So if we're trying to set up, that's going to look like Ball Search. If we're trying to get a bunch of energy into play, that's going to look like Superior Energy Retrieval or Earthen Vessel. So we have a lot of flexibility there. It's also half of our combo for Prime Catcher and Canceling Cologne should we need those. We have 2 copies of Iono. Iono is not only card draw or like hand reset essentially, it's also disruption. So in the late game, if your opponent is at 1 prize and you need them to not have Boss's Orders to win the game, you can Iono them to 1 card, and at this point, you're just really hoping that they miss, right? With Fezandipiti in play, Iono is not quite as effective as it used to be, but it's still very powerful draw early and very powerful disruption late. And then we have a Professor Turo's scenario. This card is incredibly powerful. It allows you to take a Pokemon in play, pick it up, put it into your hand, and then all cards attached will go to the discard pile. There are lots of very useful things that you can do with Turo. Namely, though, in this deck, we're going to be using it to remove liabilities from play, whether that is that Fezandipiti, which is a low HP 2-prizer, or the Palkia, if we're against something like Miraidon. It gives you a lot of utility there. Professor Turo can also, in niche scenarios, be used to utilize the Radiant Greninja more than once. If you Turo your Radiant Greninja after using concealed cards, when you put it back down, you can use it again. You can also reset Gholdengo EXs in this way. Let's say you have 4 Gimmighouls and 3 Gholdengos. Once you use your draw, you can Turo a Gholdengo, pop it down onto the 4th Gimmighoul, and you can use that draw as well. Onto the items, we have 4 Superior Energy Retrieval. Just gets a ton of energy back into the hand. When you're using energy discard as a way to do all of your damage, obviously Superior Energy Retrieval is going to be very powerful, and it immediately can put up to 4 energy into your hand, which is 200 damage for Make It Rain. We have 4 Buddy Poffin. Most of our little Pokemon are under 70 HP, the exception to that being the Radiant Greninja, but both Bidoof and Gimmighoul have less than 70 HP, and so when we're starting the game, we want to be able to establish all of these small 1-prize Pokemon. Buddy Poffin's a great way to do that. For Nest Ball, similar, we want
early Pokemon. We really want to go wide with this deck because we want a lot of Gholdengos in play for the card draw. For Nest Ball, it'll allow us to get Palkia, it'll allow us to get Fezandipiti and the Greninja as well. We play 3 copies of Earthen Vessel. Again, we're looking to stack a bunch of energy in our hand for that Gholdengo attack, for the Radiant Greninja as well for card draw. So 3 Earthen Vessel pairs perfectly with this deck. 2 Ultra Balls, this is going to be your primary way of searching Gholdengo out of the deck. Likely, though, you're going to draw a lot of them just off of all of the card draw that you have, but it is our only way to specifically search Gholdengo out of the deck. 2 Night Stretcher, this is a very flexible recovery card. It'll either allow you to get a Pokemon back from your discard pile to retrieve something like Fezandipiti, something like the Ninja, even like a Gholdengo once it gets knocked out, but situationally, you can also use it to retrieve an energy from the discard pile. Next up, we have Hisuian Heavy Ball. This is just there in case we prize one of our many one-of basic Pokemon. Palkia, Bidoof, Ninja, and Fezandipiti are all incredibly important cards. If you have a one-of in a deck, you have a 10%-ish chance of prizing it. So in 1 out of 10 games for each of these cards, right, you want that Heavy Ball to be able to get them back. Prime Catcher and Cologne, we talked about this already. Prime Catcher allows you to bring up Manaphy. Cologne will shut off Manaphy's ability, and then you can use Radiant Greninja to get around the bench barrier. Cologne also has niche uses in other matchups. For example, the Snorlax matchup, Cologne will get through Mimikyu. Cologne also shuts off Snorlax's block ability. And even in something like the Iron Thorns matchup, right? Canceling Cologne will shut off that ability and allow you to utilize all of your draw on that turn. Switch. It's Switch. Really, what else is it there for? Gholdengo has 2 retreat. Palkia has 2 retreat. Bibarel has 2 retreat. There are plenty of things that can get stuck in your active. So having that switch in tandem with the Professor Turo in order to move some of these pieces if you can't naturally retreat them is incredibly powerful. We play 1 energy retrieval. It's basically superior energy retrieval, but slightly worse. But it doesn't have a cost, right? So if you have a lower hand size and you really need energy to start getting going with Radiant Greninja, the energy retrieval is going to be a low cost option for that. And lastly, we have 2 stadiums. We have 1 copy of Pokestop. This is a deck that wants to go through its resources very quickly, get to the bottom of its deck very quickly so that we can draw towards the late game all of our superiors, all of our Earthen Vessels, all of our Night Stretchers. Pokestop is a great way to do that. Discarding 3 cards is incredibly powerful. And obviously we play a massive amount of items, but also a lot of way to recover our Pokemon and our energy should we discard those. And then last but not least, we have the Jamming Tower in the deck. This stadium will shut off all Pokemon tools in play, so it can be useful into decks that play Bravery Charm. It can be useful into decks that play Max Belt, Hero's Cape, any tool that you can think of. Sparkling Crystal especially, right? Dragapult, just 1 Dortmund. Being able to shut off that Sparkling Crystal can be incredibly effective. So Jamming Tower, just an all-around very, very powerful card in this deck. Then we're playing 10 basic energies, 6 water because those are the ones that we're going to accelerate with Palkia, and 4 metal because we need them to attack with Gholdengo. So that's the entire list. I am so excited to get into some games with Gholdengo. I have been waiting. I have a playset of Alt-Art Gholdengos that I have been just waiting for the moment to use them. So I'm hoping that the deck is finally in a place in the meta where we can see some dominance. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into some games. All right, getting started here. We are letting our opponent choose heads or tails. Unfortunate, we do generally prefer to pick tails for ourselves because, as we all know, it never fails, except when it does, which in this case, it does. We would love to go first here. It does look like they won the coin flip. Gholdengo being an evolving deck, I think there are probably not any matchups where you would prefer to go second. At least not that I can think of right off of the top of my head. We do have a mulligan here, which is okay by me. Our hand isn't particularly great there. Hopefully we get something a little better. We do have Gimmighoul. We've got a Buddy Poffin. We've got a Gholdengo for the following turn as well. So looking actually pretty decent here. We're going to be able to do some stuff at the very least. Our opponent flips over a Radiant Greninja. This could be a lot of different things. Obviously, it could be Palkia, it could be Gholdengo, it could be Gardevoir. We'll just have to wait and see. Getting rid of a fighting energy, probably meaning that this is a Raging Bolt here. They're going to go ahead and concealed cards after grabbing a Fighting and Lightning, choosing to discard the Grass energy, which makes some amount of sense considering that they already had a Fighting in the discard there. Playing that Ultra Ball, realistically, it's going to be one of two things. Either not Squawkabilly. So probably going to be that Raging Bolt. May end up being something like an Ogerpon as well. Yep, just to get some more card draw here. Getting rid of Squawk must mean that their hand is pretty good here. So that's a little bit scary, but this isn't a matchup that we're too afraid of. We can pretty easily force them through a one prizer early and then just try and take a knockout every single turn after that. We are going to go ahead and Buddy Poffin, take a look at our prizes here. Nothing prized in terms of these. We have all of our Gholdengos. Got our Palkia. It does look like the Fezandipiti is prized. We've got one of our Ionos in hand. We've got one of our Ciphers in hand. So it looks like no supporters are gone. It looks like maybe, yep, a copy of Nest Ball, a copy of Buddy Poffin. Pokestop is prized, but we have a Metal Energy in our hand. So nothing too crazy on the prizes here, at least not that I'm seeing at first glance. I do think we're going to prioritize getting Gimmighoul down in this matchup as opposed to going for something like a Bidoof. I'm tempted to not Iono here. I would love to get Radiant Greninja, but our hand does look, I mean, quite strong. I think I'm going to go ahead and Earthen Vessel away the metal just to get it in there, and I think I am going to end up Ionoing. If that was the case, though, I probably should not have gotten this card. We're kind of okay to draw into some energy here. And yeah, I think I'm going to Iono, see if I can set up my board a little bit more. We'd love to see that Radiant Greninja. Yeah, we'd love to see, yeah. Wow, this is just an insane start. So we're going to fill our bench, I think, here. We don't really need Palkia in this matchup. We're kind of just looking to go as fast as possible. Oh, it does. The Greninja's prize. That's what we were missing. So Greninja's prize. We're going to go ahead and fail the Nest Ball. So that was a little unfortunate from me. But let's use the continuous coin toss. See if we can flip. What do we need? 7 heads in a row? Nah, just 1 on this time. 2 would have made this 1 less energy to knock out, but we're still feeling pretty okay here. We have the Gholdengo. We've got another Nest Ball in hand to be able to get the Fezandipiti next turn as well, after they ultimately, like, they're going to kill this Gimmighoul here. It's something that we have accepted already. They did discard their Fezandipiti, which is kind of interesting. I'm not a huge fan of that from their side, but yeah, more than likely here, they're going to be able to take a knockout on us. But we do have a follow-up Gholdengo. We can Ciphermaniac's Codebreaking to get, you know, a ton of stuff. As long as we can get 5 energy to knock out this Raging Bolt on the following turn, we're feeling pretty good. We're feeling pretty good. We're also going to be able to Fez before we use the Ciphermaniac, so we can see exactly what pieces we may need in order to have a successful turn. They're drawing lots of cards, classic Gholdengo things. Not Gholdengo, classic Raging Bolt things. They already played their Sada, which is interesting sequencing. I wonder if they just didn't have very much access to energy before utilizing that Sada. Typically, you would want to use some of that draw before just committing, especially when you only have 1 Raging Bolt in play, because you get a little bit less effectiveness out of the Professor Sada. Presumably, they're still looking for a switch as well. They need a way to move their Radiant Greninja, get the Raging Bolt into the active here. If not, we might end up just kind of passing again, or using that continuous coin toss at the very least, unless we're able to find a way to gust up something here, whether it be the Fezandipiti, the Raging Bolt, or the Ogerpon with 3 energy. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and attach there. I bet that means they have a switch. Prime Catcher. How unfortunate. Going for that Bidoof. Gonna knock it out, but that does give me the potential to go for a very aggressive play here with multiple Gholdengo. We're gonna be able to bench our Palkia as well. Palkia is a great way and a cost-effective way to be able to one-shot a Raging Bolt. So let's go ahead. We're going to Nest Ball, grab that Fezandipiti. And like I said, we're just kind of looking to stack energy into our hand. We don't want a Codebreaking before Gholdengo here. My God. So now we know exactly what we need, right? We need one single more energy card in order to take this knockout, and we would like to see another Gholdengo here to continue to draw some cards. So let me make sure I'm doing that math right. Yep, we're doing up to 200 damage here. So we're going to go ahead and Ciphermaniac. We'll grab the Gholdengo, and we will grab... we'll probably just grab another copy of an energy card as opposed to going for the Earthen Vessel, just so we have more outs to next turn being able to draw some of the more extensive ways to get energy. We do get a second Gholdengo here, so we're going to be able to draw another card off of coin bonus. Building our card advantage, Ciphermaniac is a great card for the following turn. We're going to bench the Palkia. Again, a great way to be able to knock out a Raging Bolt without needing all of that energy. And we will just go ahead and make it rain, taking the first 2-prize knockout of the game, discarding a whole slew of water energy, which is great for us because we will be able to then use Palkia Vstar's Star Portal effect in order to accelerate energy to our board. We do get the Prime Catcher. That's great. We'd love to see Prime Catcher here. If we do end up not having enough damage to KO Raging Bolts, assuming our opponent doesn't put another Pokemon into play, we can use that Prime Catcher to go after their Fezandipiti or their Ogerpon. They are benching that Duskull. I wonder if this means that they're playing the version of the deck from Dortmund. This is going to pressure us a little bit more, right? We kind of need to get our Gimmighouls into Gholdengos now, because if we don't, they're going to be able to use that Dusknoir in order to KO one of them, getting themselves back onto that even prize map, and that can be a massive problem for us. So hopefully we'll be able to find some of our Gimmighouls or our Gholdengos this turn. All of them are in the deck, but as long as we can avoid having a Pokemon under 130 HP in play after this turn, we're going to be in a totally fine spot. They go for the Earthen Vessel. Yeah, just completely limiting themselves of ancient Pokemon. So this is kind of opening themselves up to susceptibility to an Iono and knock out their Raging Bolt. Because to pull off the Dusknoir play, you do need a way to KO my active, which really they can only do with a Raging Bolt. So they are going to need 4 energy here. They do get the tails. That was a little scary. We don't want them to kill Fez. Not really. We would definitely prefer that the Fezandipiti stay alive, but they are going to be able to Bellowing Thunder and take the KO here. I do think we would generally prefer to just take the KO with Gholdengo here, as opposed to trying to pull off some shenanigans with the Palkia. So we are going to promote the Gholdengo, but if we have to attack with Palkia, we will. We'll be able to utilize that Prime Catcher to do that as well. We do end up getting a Water Energy. I'm going to go ahead and flip the script first just to see what we might need off of the Ciphermaniac. The reason that I don't use Nest Ball is because I know for a fact that there are no basic Pokemon in our deck at the moment. And so now we have everything we need to take this KO. We can just Ciphermaniac for our double Gholdengo to play around that Duskull. So we're going to go ahead and use Ciphermaniac. We will get double Gholdengo here. We could go Night Stretcher instead. Let's say one of our Gholdengos was prized. We would be able to do that, but it's not a necessity at the moment. So we will just go ahead and coin bonus, drawing both of our Gholdengos off of the Ciphermaniac, completely mitigating that Duskull's effectiveness. And now all we have to do is get a point where we have 5 energies in hand. We can do that utilizing the Superior Energy Retrieval and the Vessel. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Nest Ball, as it is no longer very useful to us. We do need the Metal Energy attached here. And so then we will go ahead. We're going to draw some more cards, get another Superior, see what we can get off of this one. Buddy Poffin, that's great. And so we'll be able to Superior the Buddy Poffin and a Water Energy, get 4 energy back into our hand, which is exactly enough for us to once again KO the Raging Bolt. Our board is completely Dusknoir proof. We have the Prime Catcher in hand next turn to be able to KO one of their weaker 2-prizers should we need to. Things are looking great for us here. We do take the Ninja off of the prizes as well.
So things are looking great in this matchup here. Typically speaking, I would say Raging Bolt is a pretty good matchup for Gholdengo. The Dusknoir makes things a little bit sketchy, especially if you're unable to remove this Radiant Greninja from play. We do have Turo as a way to kind of get around that. But if you can just draw everything you need without putting a one prizer in play, who cares, right? We kind of already have everything that we're looking for. They do flip tails again. I don't think it would have mattered unless they're Ionoing us, which we know they're not because they use Professor Sada. Even if they knock out our Fezandipiti, all we have to do is Ciphermaniac for the Palkia Vstar, and we will be able to evolve, use Star Portal to knock out the Fezandipiti EX, and we would win the game on the following turn. So a great start for Gholdengo. The deck is piloting like a dream. It's drawing incredibly well. All of that card draw is absolutely crazy. So we'll play another one and see if we can get a second win here. But for now, Gholdengo is looking really, really good. So let's see what we can do in the next one. Getting into the next game here. Our opponent picking heads once again. Guess that means tails is ours. Give it to us. Tails failing a lot during this video today, but that's all right. Maybe they will allow us to go first anyway. No, they are going to choose to go first. Not a huge deal. As we saw in the last game, we have plenty of options for dealing with this. Our hand is honestly pretty incredible. Depending on the matchup here, it looks like there is another Radiant Greninja across from us. Again, this isn't necessarily indicative of what they're playing. Lots of decks play Radiant Greninja at the moment. So let's see what it is. It may be Raging Bolt, maybe something else. Either way, going to be something we can deal with. There is the Squawk ability, so let's see what they end up discarding. It does look like Miraidon. So Miraidon is actually an interesting matchup because it is technically possible for them to take 2 prizes on their first KO with the Iron Hands, which is something that we can't easily play around, right? That makes the matchup a little bit tougher. So the fact that they were able to go first can be problematic here. But once we get to Gholdengo, it's not easy for them to take knockouts on it, right? With Raikou, it's a little bit easier now thanks to that Area 0 Stadium. But with some clever play, if we can play around some of these damage caps, right, we can try and avoid knockouts in that respect. So that's what we're going to try and do here. They do have a pretty insane turn 1 hand, already having 3 energy cards in play. They do discard a boss as well as a Lost Vacuum. We'll see what they end up finishing off the turn with, but they do also have that Forest Seal Stone on the Raikou. So a little bit annoying here. We do want to draw into basic Pokemon, so I think we are going to go ahead and use concealed cards first. We're going to limit our bench a little bit after this gets knocked out. But I think for the beginning of the game, we're pretty safe to go ahead and get some Gimmighouls. It does look like we have 1 Ghoul prized. We have 1 Dango prized. All of our Palkia pieces are here. We have a Cipher in hand. Yep. Retrievals here. It looks like we have 1 Ultra Ball prized. 1 Nest Ball prized. Night Stretcher, as well as 1 Metal Energy. So nothing too crazy. With 5 on each player's bench, Raikou is doing 220, which means with 3 extra bench spots, he's doing 280. We want him below 260, so we'd like to limit our bench to 3 Pokemon here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get another Gimmighoul. I do think I may also grab the Bidoof here. I'm a little unsure on that. It might be better to just save this for Fezandipiti. I'm going to go ahead and attach an energy to the Gimmighoul. A lot of these lists don't play a way to hit higher than 260 without the Raikou. It's possible he's playing Raichu V, but at this point, we're not going to play around that necessarily. I feel pretty okay to just pass here. I don't think I need to Irida. I could Ciphermaniacs some Gholdengo to the top of the deck. And I do actually think that that's worth it. Let's go ahead and put a couple Gholdengo on the top of the deck. And then next turn, we can utilize the Irida as a way to get some of our stuff. And we'll go ahead and pass the turn over to them. We also have the Nest Ball to be able to get Fezandipiti next turn. So we've got a lot going for us here, right? We have Irida, which can potentially get us an Earthen Vessel to draw cards next turn. We've got lots of ways to succeed.
It's possible that it was better to Irida there instead of using the Ciphermaniacs, but I think giving us a natural way to utilize Gholdengo next turn as card draw, especially because the Radiant Ninja is likely to get knocked out here, feels pretty good. They do use their Force Seal Stone. I'm curious to know what they're going to get rid of. That's interesting. I don't understand Force Seal before concealed cards, unless they didn't have an energy in their hand, right? But if you conceal cards first and then you draw the thing that you want, then you just don't need to Force Seal for it, right? That Bravery Charm is a little annoying. It's going to mean that we need an extra energy in order to take the KO on this Iron Hands. But just like we said, right, now we're in a position where we can limit our bench so that they cannot take a 2-prize knockout on a Gholdengo, right? Which is incredibly, incredibly strong. We can go ahead and grab Fezandipiti here if we want to. I don't necessarily know that we will end up doing that. It's going to depend a little bit on what we draw. We do get an energy retrieval. That's great. I'm going to go ahead and bench the second Gholdengo here. I'm going to use coin bonus once again, see what we get. Canceling Cologne, really not doing too much for us in this exact situation. So I think now we are going to go ahead, Nest Ball for that Fezandipiti, and see if we can draw anything particularly useful. We do need 6 energies if we want to knock this Pokemon out. That is not helpful at all. None of those cards are very strong for us. That's not great. So what can we do instead? Right now, we only have access to 1 energy, so we don't have very much going for us. We can theoretically get back the Radiant Greninja to draw a couple more cards. I think that may end up being what we do here. I am going to go ahead and grab an Earthen Vessel, as well as that Palkia Vstar. We will go ahead and get rid of the Palkia Vstar as well. Grab a couple of water energies here. And I do think it's more important here, I think, that we take a knockout than it is that we leave our bench small. So I'm going to go ahead and use that concealed cards, hopefully drawing into some energy here. It's not enough. Not enough here. So we'll be able to do 150. It's not great. It's not looking too great here. So stalling a little bit. I don't necessarily want to go ahead and commit the Palkia V into play. So I do think we're just going to go ahead and hit for 150 here. There's not much else that we can do. If we had drawn 1 more energy, maybe we could have gone towards trying to KO the Squawkabilly or something like that. But yeah, at the moment, it's not looking fantastic. Hopefully next turn we'll be able to draw something a little bit better. They do go for concealed cards. They're going to be able to see 2 cards, discarding that double turbo. Makes sense. They already have one on the Iron Hand. So really all they're looking for here is a boss's orders in order to try and KO our Fez or our Radiant Greninja. They do just have to research, though. Their bench is full, not able to utilize that Iron Bundle. They are going to play the Area 0. If they can fill their bench here to 8, they'll be able to retreat. They'll be able to use that Raikou V to knock us out as well. But that will force them. All right, so they have the switch card. That makes things a little bit worse. Do they have enough lightning Pokemon in deck to utilize the Miraidon? They definitely have Zapdos. They probably have another Raikou, so it does look pretty likely they're going to be able to take the knockout here. They do only get 1 Raikou down. I wonder if that means they don't have it. Generator. No. I'm wrong, right? They only need 1 Pokemon here to take the knockout. I would have needed to limit my bench to 3 in order to do that. They do play the Nest Ball, so regardless, they're going to be able to get it, even if they needed it. No, I think I'm wrong. 220. Oh, they have the Zapdos just in hand, so it doesn't necessarily matter. But yeah, 220, 240, 260, 280. Yeah, they're definitely knocking me out. They're definitely knocking me out here. Doing a little bit overkill. It looks like they're going to be doing 290 damage. 270. Yeah, so they did need this. They did need this bench Pokemon. I was doing my math a little bit wrong there. It's not looking too great. We would really love to be able to Iono them. They didn't put Fez in play. So we're definitely going to try and utilize Gholdengo to knock out their active. We don't need much to knock out their active. We're pretty close already. Missing just one single energy in order to have that. But if we want to Iono, we also need to be able to find energy in that hand. So we'll go ahead and we will flip the script, see what we're able to draw into. No Iono yet. We do get another Gholdengo. We can Earthen Vessel away Palkia as a way to remove that liability from play. We don't necessarily need it. I probably should have gotten a metal energy there to attach, but we do miss the Iono so far. I don't want to bench any more Pokemon. I think I just have to use my coin bonuses and kind of hope that I get something useful here. Still no Iono. We will attach the metal to the active. Maybe a little risky. It's probably possible that we would Prime Catcher here, but yeah, it's not very likely that they miss the boss's orders. So as a result of that, I think probably the safest thing for me to do here, I could Prime Catcher KO the hands and then Turo Fez to guarantee that I don't get knocked out, right? So I can Prime Catcher hands, put up Fez, Turo Fez, promote Gholdengo, Superior. We'll get rid of Poffin and canceling Cologne. Get enough energy to take the KO. Not that we need all of this energy, but certainly can't hurt. And we'll be able to finish off the knockout here with 4. Right? 120, 160. Yeah, so we do need 4. Taking the knockout. And this does mean our opponent won't be able to win on the following turn. How much that matters, I think, is a little bit up for debate. But, you know, if they're able to just hit us and then next turn we can go, you know, switch into this Gholdengo, take the knockout, and Iono them to 2 cards, all we would need is for them to miss the boss's orders, right? And if they miss boss, we'll be in a pretty solid position. Our switch is still in deck, I think. Yeah, it is. So really, really we're looking for switch and Iono. That is the priority here, is switch and Iono. They do Arven. We'll see what they get into here. They did put Fez back into their deck. They do have their ace spec left. They have only committed 1 boss's orders, so I would imagine that they have access to it. There's the secret box, so there's no Prime Catcher. There is no Prime Catcher. They do Bravery Charm the active. That's 1 more energy I'm going to need to take the KO, but I think that's probably okay. We have 1 Superior left in deck. There's the secret box. We're also going to be able to... I mean, Fez doesn't do anything, right? If they take the knockout, they take the knockout. There's not really anything we can do there. Getting rid of that second Iron Hands. I think... I'm going to assume that this means that this is the list that top-8'd Dortmund, which means that they may play Raichu. There's a generator. They did put boss into their hand, which means, like, if I Iono, there's a very real chance that they will miss. They do hit 2 energy. They're thinning their deck pretty well. So even if I get the Iono, it's certainly not guaranteed. We need both Iono and switch here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and Nest Ball, see if I can get anything out of my deck. Get the Bidoof. There's no reason not to at this point. Switch. There are 2 Ionos. So we're thinning our deck a bit. I'm going to go ahead and Heavy Ball here. There's a Gimmighoul that we can put into play. We don't want to, though. Again, we'd like to limit our bench size here. So we're going to start with the concealed cards, hoping that we can find Iono first so I can use some of this alternative draw. We do find the Iono. So we're going to go ahead and put it a Metal Energy onto the Gimmighoul. I don't think there's much else. I'm going to play the Nest Ball. It's not helpful anymore. Go ahead and hit done. And then I will go ahead and use my Iono here And so off of 7 cards, we need to find our switch. So we have a slightly above 50% chance. We don't hit it outright. Let's see if we can go ahead and find it off of one of the Gholdengos. There's the switch. We're going to be able to switch into our other Gholdengo here. We're going to be able to coin bonus once again. Poffin and Ciphermaniacs. I'm going to go ahead and Superior Energy Retrieval, the Buddy Poffin, and the Ultra Ball, getting back 4 energy. And then we have exactly enough to take the KO on this Raikou. And so all we need now is for them to miss boss. If they don't have boss this turn, we can win the game here. We've got the boss in our hand already, in case they do try to hide behind a 1-prize Pokemon. So we just need them to miss boss. That's really what it comes down to. We did put 1 to the bottom of the deck. I know the Dortmund list did play 3 copies of boss's orders. They do play Nest Ball, get the Fezandipiti. It's very unlikely that we are going to be able to succeed here. They can draw 1. Yeah, no, they can draw their whole deck here. So they're going to be able to find the boss. Unfortunate for us. It was looking like we might be able to take the win there, but unfortunately we are going to be just short with them taking this knockout. We did stumble a little bit at the beginning of the game. That never feels good, but we did almost mount a comeback there. We were able to find an interesting play with the Professor Turo's scenario in order to keep us in the game here. But yeah, it does look like they're going to go ahead and draw the rest of their deck. Slow roll us a little bit, which fair enough, I suppose, and Photon Blaster for their last 2 prizes. So we do take a loss. It does seem like Miraidon could be one of our tougher matchups. But I do think had we taken that first KO on the Iron Hands, we may have been able to win that game. So with a little bit more luck there off of the Fezandipiti, instead of drawing all of our supporters, if we had found any access to energy and taken that first 2-prize knockout, I think we would have been in quite a good spot. So we're going to play one more game, see if we can go positive with the Gholdengo, but the deck is feeling pretty good. Even in that loss, it felt like we had a lot of plays we could make. So let's see if we're able to round out with a win. All right, so here we are, the final game of the video here. Let's see if we can finally win a coin flip. I have a feeling we are not going to. I see Charizard staring me down, looking like a menace. We do win the coin flip, so we are going to get the opportunity to choose to go first here with the Gholdengo. Hopefully, we have a slightly better start than we did last time. We'd love to see some more energy early on in the game. Once again, another mulligan. It does make sense. There's not a ton of basic Pokemon in the deck. I think it's like 9. It might actually only be 8. We do take 3 mulligans, though. Not exactly what you want to see. But honestly, our hand is pretty solid here. So not too much to complain about. They're going to get a ton of extra cards, but depending on the matchup, that might not be that big of a deal. Looking at my hand already, I think we're going to go ahead and Earthen Vessel the metal away before we get into things. It does look like we are against Lugia here. Seems like a fine matchup so long as we go first. We did give them a lot of extra stuff, which doesn't necessarily feel great. I'm going to go ahead and concealed cards first. We would like to draw into some of the Pokemon that we would thin out with the Buddy Poffin, so it is perfectly reasonable for us to go ahead and use the Greninja first. I could Ultra Ball here and grab something like the Palkia V as a way to potentially KO a Lugia V on the following turn, but honestly our hand feels reasonable. We could also Ultra Ball for that Bidoof to evolve into Bibarel next turn. And I actually do think I like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and discard these last 2 energies, grab another Bibarel or Bidoof, and then we'll be able to evolve basically our entire hand on the following turn, which feels pretty solid, I think. What we're going to be trying to do on the following turn is likely knock out their Lugia V. They may put more than 1 into play in order to play around that. But if we're able to take a early 2-prize knockout in this matchup, it feels like we would probably be in a pretty reasonable position. It is important to note that they do play Iron Hands EX, and the fact that they play Iron Hands EX means that we have to be worried about Iron Hands EX. Despite the triple mulligan here, my opponent does have to research a massive hand. They do get rid of double chops, but they also get rid of 4 energy on their first turn. That is the double-edged sword of Lugia mulligans, right? Is that so much of your deck is energy that each one of them has a pretty high chance of being one of those energies. They do go ahead and bench a Lugia V here for us. They're even retreating into it. I wonder if that means they're going to go for Read the Wind. No, just trying to prevent us from KOing that Minccino, which makes some amount of sense, right? We can go ahead and Buddy Poffin. I think it's unlikely at this point that we're going to go for Palkia here. So we can just go ahead and start off by playing out our hand. We're going to go ahead and Bibarel up to 5 cards. Nothing crazy, right? None of this is like extremely good. We are going to be able to take the KO. We can do something like Irida for the Earthen Vessel. We do need a switch though, actually, so we're not quite in range of the knockout just yet. So we could utilize the Gholdengo first. We can also Irida first to Earthen Vessel. Not actually 100% sure what is right here. I think I'm going to go ahead and Irida for the switch and the Palkia. Our Palkia V is prized. We'll go ahead, we'll switch into Gholdengo. We're going to be able to draw at least 3 cards off of these. We're looking for like 1 more energy here. There's that energy. So we have enough to take the KO now. No, we're still 1 short, right? Because we need 5 energy for the KO and we need 1 energy for the attachment. So we do need to find another energy either off the Radiant Greninja. There we go. Great. So now we are at enough to take the knockout. So we can decide between using concealed cards first or superior first. I don't think I want to risk not drawing an energy off the superior or off the Radiant Greninja. So I'm going to go ahead and superior. I think we'll get rid of the Palkia and the Iono. Getting rid of Iono feels a little risky. Maybe we get rid of the boss's orders here. We're probably not going to need more than 2 Gust this game, I would guess. And we still have Prime Catcher. We still have another boss. So this feels like a reasonable play to me. And we can go ahead and use the Make It Rain in order to take the KO here. I'm not 100% confident in the way that I sequenced that either. There's a world where we were supposed to use the first Superior Energy Retrieval first in order to use that Radiant Greninja as a way to see what we might want off of the Irida. But I'm opting for a little bit safer of a play, I think, by using the Irida first. Because then we can preserve the Superior Energy Retrieval, right? So that's pretty decent. They are going to go ahead and get their Archeops into play. This does seem a little bad for us. If they're able to take the knockout with Minccino here, we are going to have to go for a single prize knockout, but Minccino's kind of their main way to be able to take 2 prize KOs. So if they don't get another Minccino down, we're not too worried about it, because then we're probably not getting knocked out on the following turn. Ultra Ball comes down. Likely, yep, that Minccino. They're going to go ahead and put that into play. Let's see. What else do you got going on here? They're just Primal Turboing. So that makes me think that they don't have too much. If they don't bench another Minccino here, and if they don't bench, well, they don't have to initially bench Iron Hands, right? They could go Iron Hands boss on the following turn, but we'll deal with that when we get there. This matchup does seem a little bit troublesome for us, I have to say. If they're able to take these big knockouts, it's certainly not great, right? Attaching that DTE puts them at exactly 260. They're going to be able to take the KO on us with the Minccino here. Not what we love to see, but maybe we'll be able to get around it somehow. Are attaching that gift energy to the Lugia as a way to add an extra card to their hand with the gift energy when I pop it on this Minccino. We'll go ahead and promote Gholdengo. I don't think there's really another option that we have that's practical. Canceling Cologne doesn't really do anything for us, so we can go ahead and pop that. I'm going to go ahead and bench Palkia so I can utilize Industrious Incisors for the most amount. There's not a great reason to KO the Lugia here. It doesn't really do all that much. I think it is probably better to just KO the Cinccino in this position. It doesn't necessarily feel great, but I do think it's probably what we're going to end up doing. We don't need a ton of energy in order to accomplish it either. We're already there, essentially, right? We need energy for turn to attach, as well as 3 energy in order to finish it off. Jamming Tower is not super useful here, so I feel pretty okay about getting rid of that. We can go ahead and grab our last 2 energy in deck. We can concealed cards one of them away, and then we'll be able to use the single energy retrieval in order to take 2 more out of the discard pile. So we will go ahead and do that as well. I don't think there's too much else for us to do here. We just bench Palkia, so there's no reason to Irida. Palkia Vstar is in our discard pile anyways. I think we can just go ahead and take the knockout. I'm not interested in bossing. I'm not interested in Ionoing. I could Ciphermaniacs, and I think I will Ciphermaniacs to play around the Iono. So we want a superior. Night Stretcher could be good here for the Palkia Vstar as well. So I think that's probably what we're going to be leaning towards. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do this. I would have loved to put an Iono on the top of the deck, but unfortunately, all of them are in my hand, so we can't do that. If they Iono us, we might just be forced to go for a different supporter on the following turn. But we are able to KO a Cinccino, and we can go from there. Getting that Fezandipiti off the prize is pretty okay. Likely they're going to promote this Lugia. It doesn't really matter what they promote. If their intention is to Iron Hands this turn, they're going to be able to, right? There's not really anything we can do to stop it. We do have 3 Pokemon in play that are susceptible to the Iron Hands, but it's also possible that they just go for Weird Ear here, right? There's plenty of options that they have to knock us out, and if they do any of them, it could put us in a problematic position, right? There's really not much that we can do to counteract that. If they have Iron Hands plus Boss, or they do happen to be playing the Weird Ear, which not all lists are, including the Weird Ear at the moment. They do go for the Primal Turbo. Do they even have... Yeah, I mean, they certainly have enough to KO us with Weird Ear, right? They accelerate a bunch of double turbo energies. They're going to be able to do it. They are also down a significant amount of energy here, right? They have 10 energy already in the discard pile. So if this is Rahul's list, there's not much energy left. We know it's not Rahul's list because there's a Morty's Conviction in the deck. But if it's somewhere close to that, they're going to be struggling, right? Actually, it probably would have been smart for me not to bench the Palkia. If I'm trying to play around specifically them taking a 2-prize knockout, it probably would have been the most smart for me not to bench this Palkia. I was thinking along the lines of if they bench a Minccino, I would be able to Radiant Greninja, KO the Minccino, and set something else up for a more easy knockout. But yeah, this does put me in pretty massive risk of them being able to KO the Palkia here. They're not going to be able to because they did choose to attach the double turbo energy. So they're going to have to do something else. It does look like they're just going to KO my Bibarel here, which I think makes some amount of sense. But yeah, if I was looking to play around the specifically any 2-prize KO, not putting a Palkia in play would have been the best way to go about that. But that's okay. We do lose Bibarel, but so long as we evolve this Palkia this turn or Turo it out of play, they won't be able to take 3 prizes on it with that, what's it called? Iron Hands EX. So we can guarantee that with the Irida, just grabbing that Night Stretcher. I think it's fine to put Fez in play at this point. It shouldn't make too much of a difference for me here. Yeah, we get the Night Stretcher because we stacked it off of the Ciphermaniacs already. So we'll be able to evolve into that Palkia, getting myself safely out of range of a 3-prize KO from their Iron Hands. So now our only goal is to KO this Lugia Vstar, right? Which we can already do. We can use the superior energy retrievals in our hand in order to get there. We could also do something like, Prime Catcher, KO Lumineon, or, what have you. I do think we are out of energy in our deck at the moment. Yeah, we've got 8 in our discard, 1 on the active, and then I believe we have 1 prized as well. There is a gift energy here, so I don't feel pressured to Iono. I think I am just going to go ahead and use a couple of superior energy retrievals here to grab enough energy to KO the Palkia. And then next turn, we can use Palkia Vstar's effect in order to get enough stuff to KO something on the bench, whether that's an Archeops or a Lumineon. But yeah, it looks like they are going to concede. Us taking this 2-prize knockout is going to be much too difficult, I think, for them to compete with. I do think what they could have done there is potentially used Legacy Energy as a way to stop me from taking a 2-prize knockout. Then on the following turn, tried to, do something else. But with the Lumineon in play, it's hard to get away from that, right? So we do have just like a ton of consistency, an insanely high damage cap. So even though we were in kind of a sketchy position there, we were never really at risk of not taking KOs, right? It seems like that's the most reasonable way for us to lose games, is just not hitting enough energy in the early game to be able to put on pressure right off the rip. And that's how we lost that Miraidon game, right? But otherwise, this deck feels incredibly smooth. I can't wait to play more games with it. I definitely think that there were some plays that I made that were suboptimal. So I'm really excited to dive in with this deck and see if I can get very good with the Gholdengo so that I too can make it rain at my next regional championship. Thank you all so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and if you really love me, you can go ahead and put a comment down below about what your favorite game was, how you feel about Gholdengo in the meta. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.